Hi, Kimani, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. I'm trying to figure out how to get my screen share and camera to be all part of the same window, and I believe I can do that.
Uh-huh. You would need the host access from us. We'll transfer it to you. We'll just do that.
Right now, I believe I do have access to share screen. I was
Oh,
just trying to figure out how to get my face on the screen, the screen share. So I have a broadcast thing I use for it. But we're starting here in a minute, so if I
no,
can't get it up, it's no big deal.
no, 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 no. We're waiting for other people to come in as well. So do that. We do need to see you. Hi, Bernard.
Hi,
How,
how are you?
very well. How are you?
Fine, fine. I
Have you
try to
been?
I try to follow your discussion. Last day I said I'm French, so my English is
Right.
like this, but I understand. I follow you.
Wow. Great. You're going to have a lot of fun in this session. It's a
Ah,
lot of new information.
mhm.
We are going to make sure that we speak slowly and
Ah,
uh, please
thank
just
you.
feel free to ask questions.
Okay, it's a pleasure.
Have you been watching some of the films at the festival?
No, because I don't know how I have to do.
Oh,
Um, to see movies from here in my house. Um, can I have a number or uh, what can I do to follow movies from here?
right. So I think after this conversation,
Yes.
somebody from my team will reach out to you and will help you
Okay.
understand the process.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank
Will,
you.
will Are you available? Are you on the Discord group with us? Are you on Discord?
What do you mean by underscore?
Okay. No, so how do you like to communicate? Emails or WhatsApp or phone? What works
Yeah.
best?
Yes. I have email, WhatsApp. I have. Yes, I have this.
Perfect. So can you
Instagram.
yeah, so WhatsApp will be the best. So if you can just text your number on the chat here. Uh
I have to do this right now. My
yeah,
number.
yeah, best because then the team can take it and we will help you right after the session.
Okay, it's good.
So Ramo, ready? Ready for next one.
Yes.
Yeah,
I love
absolutely.
your energy. Yeah. Very good.
Thank you. I'm
Hi,
really,
Anirudh.
really excited. Like these are like I told my mom today only she was asking she was asking me like will you have to sit for like today also? I'm like yeah, it's gonna be for 28th.
Yeah.
So she was like okay. I'm like yeah, I'm like really packed up. Don't disturb me all this stress. So
Good.
yeah.
It's important to take out learning time. It's
Yeah,
very
absolutely. And it's so fascinating to kind of, connect with so many people all over the globe. And I've also telling my friends as well, when I go to sleep at that time also like I'm texting my friends and like really like discussing with them that how enjoyable this all is and also how like it's enlightening me, so it's very important and it's very amazing, really.
wow.
Yeah,
Good. Very, very. We all are very, very glad that you're finding value in it.
yeah,
And uh,
absolutely.
it's a new format. We're trying out a new lot of different things.
Right,
But like all the coaches have been saying about the intent, you know,
right,
our
exactly.
intent into the film festival is absolutely to just give as much value as we can because we belong to the
Right,
same tribe and we
right,
understand, that it's so fragmented, it's so unstructured that it is difficult for people to sort of swim through. Thank you, Bernard. Got your number.
Okay.
We will get in touch with you on this. Perfect. So yeah. I mean, glad that that you all are finding value, and it's a very 360 degrees.
Right.
Tomorrow you will do something that's one of us here will find value in, and this is
Mhm.
like you're forming a new community, getting to know each
Exactly.
other, collaborate with each other. Something new will come out of these collaborations and learnings.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
We have to give ourselves this kind of time. Did you manage, Kimani? Ah, the screen is coming on. We see that. Audio is not there. Plug in. The audio is missing.
Okay. So the audio is missing. Let me
No, it's
do
come
it the
back.
old
Now the
fashioned.
audio has come back and the video is missing.
We'll just do it the old fashioned way. I can't be all fancy with y'all today. So
Don't worry.
um
I mean, if you're closer to solving it, then solve it.
nah,
Ah,
it's all
with your fancy background.
yeah, just to hide the clutter. Hello
Yeah,
everybody. Good morning. For me it's
Hello.
morning.
yeah. It's night in India, but then of course, Bernard, what time is it there for you?
Um, what can I say in English? It's to 5 o'clock p.m.
In the evening. Okay, so
Yeah.
that's awesome. Great. So everybody, on your behalf and on my behalf, let me welcome Kimani. Kimani, I have known only for a few months, maybe, and it's been through. I think we interacted first time on Twitter Space, yeah, and
Yeah.
I think we very fairly quickly we realized that we're doing or thinking at least similar things, at least addressing things. And since then, we've been interactive, we've been talking. I've been very fascinated with what he's developing. I hope he's fascinated with what we are developing, but I will. But yeah,
I love what let me say it absolutely correct, but what Mahar Film Festival is doing. I think presenting distribution rights through NFTs to distributors right there at the festival is a genius idea. So
I didn't pay him
that's
to say that. Promise. I didn't bribe Kimani to say any of that. It's all
no, it's just she's the first person I've heard that from, and that's exactly compatible with the way I see this industry changing,
yeah.
where we are now um, in control of how we're negotiated with.
Yes. It's high time we do that. It's absolutely high time we do that. But of course, I think a lot of people have been wanting to do it, but of course you need a larger community and some technology, some things to make things happen. And I think we are in a good time. So to everybody, Kimani is a young filmmaker, runs a production house, and he what he's trying to do, if I can sum it up correctly, being a filmmaker, being a person at the creator's end, he absolutely understands the promises, the opportunities, and the challenges of somebody who is trying to create. The creation could be anything, but the creative process is always unstructured, always. But in a film, or specifically talking about the film, it's never one person, not usually a one person. There's always a team. That's where the dynamics come in. That's also the opportunity, that there are many people coming together, and there's also a challenge that there are many people, right? So traditionally, let's address traditionally what's been happening, and I think it is a global phenomena, that some people have always carried more weight, more power, more access, more control, and which is fine. They must be doing that because they bring in more. But we have also felt that the other people who are also contributing, and in a nicer way, often do not get as much, or what their work entails. Like in a filming process, there are many people who, I think ours is the only industry which doesn't pay a lot of times, and it doesn't pay saying that you are going to get experience, you're going to get visibility, right? It's not really common that it is heard in other professions that you work for visibility, or for just learning, and you keep doing that for years and years together. But it happens in art and entertainment, it happens. So Kimani is going to tell us through what's got into his mind that he has decided to turn it around, and what is he doing about it. But my request to everybody is that please listen to it from a very new thing that's evolving. Okay, none of us have the final answers, but we've taken a leap of faith, and we've taken some steps to jump and create some structures for everybody. Yeah. So Kimani, welcome to Malhar Film Festival. Welcome to this audience who is all buzzing with ideas, ready to make their next film. They're already shortlisted into Malhar, which means that their film have passed the first level of validation, and they're up for the distributors' vision and the distributors' access. So they're moving on to the next paradigm. And a lot of films are already doing circles at various film festivals, so they would also have different concepts in mind, different awards and rewards, different ways of looking at what works and what doesn't work. So it's a very rich community. Like I've been telling you, that we've had good success with Malhar by reaching 50 plus countries, and it was a lot of films. It was 1,000 plus films that we received, and out of that, the best we could do and our jury members could do was to bring it down to 300 plus, you know. Uh, but they are so diverse, and yet so inclusive. Such beautiful human stories. So as the stories, they've passed the litmus test. Now we have to get to taking them wider. So, and that's where you come in, taking it wider, like really, really wide. So help us know a little more about you, and what's been your background, and what are you currently pursuing?
Perfect. Hi, everybody. My name's Kimani Okearah. I'm a filmmaker, cognitive linguist, and photojournalist out of Sacramento, California. Um, I've been a producer in the U.S. film industry for about 15 years now, and nothing to brag about. Just paying the bills, getting through life. I have a few projects under my own name from about 10 years ago, and my last 10 years have been very interesting for my career. I spent half the career covering professional basketball in the United States at the highest level, and then the other half producing reality TV. So the reality TV side of things, it was a mixed bag, because I'll tell you what, I don't know if I would have had an opportunity to work a multi-million-dollar budget if I didn't take those jobs. So you have to find the opportunities that fit where you want to end up. So even though 5 years ago I wanted to be directing those Marvel films and everything, I was really far away from that. So I was experiencing a few different things. My career, my opportunities were solid. The pay was never solid, and what would happen was I'd take a good job, I'd take something I'd be excited about, and we'd do it, we'd nail it. And then I don't know how it is for y'all, but we have massive payroll issues in the United States, right? So yeah, that resonates with a few of y'all. Like, okay, no, okay, well,
No, it's the same. It's
okay.
Yeah,
People get paid 4 months late, 5 months late,
we don't get it.
just devastating. It's because we don't have that much money to begin with. So if you're paying us, people paying us late, oh man. And this whole time in my career, I've always wanted to do what everybody wants to do: go direct our own shows and films. But I've also been a passionate consumer of cinema and television on a global perspective, and trying to I explore it from a linguistic perspective. I'm a cognitive, that's actually my number one thing in life. So don't think of me as speaking right now. I am communicating meaning with you through a very analog technology that we call speech. I'm performing a series of noises through a hole in my face, and you recognize the patterns of noise that I create, and this sequence that I'm putting them in. And I'm creating meaning. You're understanding and collaborating with me on and agreeing that this means what it means. And we're able to establish a hive mind connection in a very analog way. And cinema to me is an extension of that. So that's why I got into film from the very beginning, was ancestral storytelling, the idea that an audience is sitting there for 2-3 hours or so, if it's a show, it's 20 minutes to an hour or whatever it is, but that's sacred time. And they're giving you a little chapter of their life to leave them something, and I find that so valuable. So I always want to have our audiences come away from these experiences with something. I don't know what that is. You're the creator. But, as long as we're all creating stuff with the idea that we're building an audience experience here, first and foremost. And so that's how I approach storytelling, is through how is the audience experiencing this. So that said, I think I would love to, if we have time, check in with Sonia, because I'm not important. I'm just another cog in this machine. And
Yeah.
I would love to hear from some other filmmakers as well, if we have time. But if we don't have time, I understand.
No, of course. It's absolutely interactive. I mean, everybody is absolutely free to. Would you like to know more about the introductions at this stage, or
Yeah, if anybody, you don't have to speak, but I would love
Right.
to, hey, I'm me and this is what I'm doing. And, post your links in the chat. I'm all about cross network support. I'm all about uplifting
Yeah.
each other. So I'm going to save all your links, and then we can get into the other thing. But anybody who feels comfortable, please share.
Yeah,
Please introduce
absolutely.
yourself.
Chat, send a message in the chat, and let's just keep doing this throughout the talk. I mean, just keep sending things in the chat, unmute yourself, say what you want to say. Yeah. And at any point of time, anybody would like to introduce yourself or have like a quick question for us at this point? Okay, no problem. Right. So,
Hi, I would love to introduce myself.
please, hi.
Hi, this is Upashna.
Hi.
Can you hear me?
Yes, absolutely. Totally.
Okay. Hi, I'm Upashna. I'm from Bhutan.
Hi.
And it's so nice. This is my second session. I was there for the first session.
Mhm.
It's really nice to understand the perspective of India and other places. So
Yes.
the session with Priyanka was really nice, because we come from a very small community and we make very few movies. So
Yes.
it's a good learning. I would love to attend some more sessions on it.
Absolutely. And each session is going to be very, very different because, I mean, even if the topic is the same, but it's a new person. And that's what Kimani is saying, right? Like we all
Exactly,
have a
exactly.
different energy. We bring in a different experience. Topics are going to be those few topics all over the world, but just what one brings in their own perspective is nice. Great. So I just hope keep looking you up all throughout the festival.
Sure,
Kimani
sure.
is doing like all yeah. Please put him through as many questions as you can. You'll do me a favor, okay? Just just ask as many questions as you can to him.
I
All
love
right.
it too.
I've set
Uh,
my trap, Kimani. I've set the trap.
Oh, I love it, because this is like my dream right now, is to be talking to a group of filmmakers and empowering them with this knowledge about what this technology can do.
Yeah.
Um, So it sounds like you all have already been exposed to some of the stuff about the technology, right? I find it helpful to kind of scale it all the way out, because for me, Sonia asked me a question. I have it written here. She asked me, how long have I been into Web3? And my personal entry point was December 2021, but it took me 3 months to understand what was going on. Like, and I already kind of knew what Bitcoin was and the digital currency side of things. I was familiar. I hadn't made any money to that point in my career, still to this to this day. So I hadn't put any money into those things. But I still was familiar with at least what it was. December 2020, pandemic, everybody's having a tough time. I'm not making any income. My brother's missing. A lot of stuff's going wrong in life. I'm supposed to be shooting the NBA, the professional basketball team, but they're using the pandemic to basically design which media has access to the team and which ones don't. Anyway, so somebody comes along Twitter. I forget who it is. I can't find them. Can't find the tweet. But they're like, hey, you should check out NFTs and think about selling your photos as NFTs. And that was, I was looking at it. I'm like, I don't know what this is. Code, nodes, blocks, what? What is going on?
Yeah.
And for 2 months, December, that was probably middle of December 2020. So for 2 months from December to middle of February, you couldn't ask me anything about this stuff. And then at that time, I had maybe made a little bit of progress in those 2 months. And at that time, there was a piece of art sold by an artist named Beeple for $69 million US. And I had just come off a show called The Bachelor a few years ago, where that was a $25 million season. And I saw this man make $69 million, no tax, in one transaction. I'm like, wait a minute. So you can achieve that level of finance with this technology, using art as the way to build the relationship? Blew my mind. So that made me, the people that bought the piece were called Metapurse, and they're out of Singapore. And they immediately held a 2-week seminar in a metaverse called Decentraland. And so I went to this 3D world, and with my little avatar, looked exactly like me. And I went to the seminar, it was just a Zoom call that was in a theater in the 3D land. So I'm like, why couldn't I just go to the Zoom call? Whatever. For 2 weeks, they explained everything about NFTs, the ins and the outs. This is before the profile pictures ever took off. One of the most intriguing things I had heard was about navigating real estate on the blockchain by filing deeds. And so I immediately went and asked my lawyer, I said, can we use deeds for intellectual property? And we were kind of kicking it back and forth, and it's kind of been done, it's not really used like that. There's been times where it's been done, but for the most part, people use trademark and copyright, and they go through the central process here. That $69 million piece went. I did the 2-week seminar in Decentraland. I sent an email to Metapurse. Now, I'm the sort of the producer that will send the email no matter who you are. And I encourage every producer in here to be exactly like that, because 95% of the time, nobody's going to respond. But the 5%, that's all you need. So I always send the email if I'm curious about a connection, and then most of the time people don't respond. But this time they did. And I said, hey, I love what you guys did with with that Beeple piece. What they did something really interesting. They took that $69 million purchase, which was, for all intents and purposes, this massive JPEG file. And they fractionalized their ownership to this massive JPEG file. And now that it's been established at a $69 million value, they fractionalized their ownership, and that fractional ownership pool now has a $69 million value. And they use that to back, and this might lose some of y'all, but they use that to back the value of a whole nother cryptocurrency that they created called the B20 token. Now, that was super fascinating to me, and I felt that that was a little bit too complicated for the film industry, because especially when we get away from the NFTs and into the internal tokenomics, we're going to lose a lot of people. So I'll stay away from that. But if you're curious on checking that out, it's the B20 token, and it's a project that Metaverse put together. The most fascinating result from that B20 project was they fractionalized their ownership to this art piece, and they successfully did not form securities because it's an art piece. which I was like, okay, now we're talking, because when we produce work, we're producing art. And I reached out to Metaverse. I asked them if I can put together a model for film finance and creator equity, kind of using what I learned from the seminar and from what they did with the B20. And lo and behold, they responded. I don't think I'd be here right now if they didn't respond, right? So they responded, and I immediately put together a team for a sitcom that I've been planning for 6 years now. It's called Press Pass. I encourage y'all to check it out. It's a sitcom that's loosely about my experiences covering the worst professional basketball team in the United States while producing, the highest level of photography. So we'll talk about that on another call. So the goal here was to figure out a way to fractionalize the ownership to the sitcom and transact ownership fractions with the community to finance the sitcom without creating securities and without creating compliance issues with the United States government, and then hopefully all your governments as well. Again, I'm not a lawyer, I'm a producer, so I'm not offering legal advice. So anything with this strategy, make sure that you run it through counsel locally and work with local counsel to make adjustments where there needs to be adjustments made. Any questions? I tend to drone on, so I just want to check in on the room.
Yeah. Because a couple of terms have been used. It's good to clarify them because they're going to come up again and again. If there's anything that anybody doesn't understand a term, please ask.
So the
Yeah.
long and the short of, oh yeah, please go
Yeah,
for it.
yeah.
Yeah. So what do you mean, like fractionalizing the your film? You made a sitcom. So like, what does it mean? Like, you are fractionalizing the thing? Like, I did not get that.
This is awesome. This is part of the creator paradigm.
That's what Kimani was waiting for. Yes.
Yes. This is part of the expansive creative paradigm that we all have a chance to adopt, and don't feel bad if you're not already here.
Yes.
Because yeah, don't feel bad at all, because I've been basically I got 15 years in the US film industry in a bunch of different chapters. So I know the perspectives that the industry has toward creators, and that's given me a leg up in this.
So Kimani, can I interrupt for just a moment?
Yeah, please.
Before we get into fractionalizing, can you just sum it up to say what problem are you trying to solve?
Yes,
and
I
then
actually
move
wrote
to the
this down.
solution part of it.
Right. Yeah.
So we got into the entry point, what got me introduced to NFTs. That's actually important here. So with my photography, that's what got me into the whole technology. I can state the exact purpose of the work and the relationship I expect the collector to maintain with that work. So that's really important. When you create an NFT, you're creating the relationship with the consumer as well as the asset that it is, and you can enforce the relationship with the consumer. So it's all in the same thing. So that's important. The problem that I'm trying to solve in our industry is a fourfold problem. We have authenticity issues, especially in the United States. We have opportunity issues all over the world. We have creator equity issues, meaning that if I'm part of a team, your team that's 3,000 people on a film, and that film goes on to make $400 million, and only 5% of that organization is getting residuals, there's something wrong with that.
Correct.
Everybody should be getting a piece of that, even the PA who worked 5 days. So I I've set up a system for exactly that. And it's a hard math system to where that PA who's on there for 5 days, they'll still get a piece of the pie, but it'll reflect that they were there for 5 days instead of being unfairly represented. So then the last portion is, and this was an accident, this just happened to work out, was the film finance part. And the finance part is super interesting because as of right now, if any one of us wanted to go get a $25 million US budget for a film or a show, ooh, it's possible, don't get me wrong, but the barriers to that being achieved are remarkable. And I know the industry vets in the room know exactly what I'm talking about. So authenticity, opportunity, creator equity, and film finance. That's what the Elmo structure model that I'm talking through today solves very efficiently, all four. And it actually, there's a fifth problem it solves too, and in terms of providing accessible distribution to lower level, quote unquote, or smaller distributors for any scale of work. So that's super interesting. So to Saramya.
Yeah.
Okay, I want to make sure. My name's Kimani, so some people say it with weird syllables sometimes.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm not a person that ever takes offense to anything. Y'all, I'm gonna go to this paper that I linked in the chat called the Elmo Structure for Tokenomics. It's a doozy. It's 45 pages. We're not gonna just like read through the paper today. We're just gonna present a few different portions of it. But there is a portion here that will really help folks understand the paradigm that we need to operate in this technology with. It's called creator paradigm on the paper. And I'll start doing the screen share now. How about that? That makes sense. Okay. All right. So I'm on the creator paradigm section of the Elmo structure for tokenomics. I'm on my Google Drive version, but the public version looks like this. You read it from the website. And these are tokens that you can collect in our platform. So we'll get into that in a little bit. Any individual who conceptualizes an intellectual property in any format is able to utilize the Elmo structure for tokenomics to manage the rights to their intellectual property to great effect. In our industry, the Elmo structure is perfectly applied. When you create an intellectual property intended for film or television distribution, you've actually created at least two intellectual property assets. You've created the original film or television concept itself, and I've got definitions there on screen. And you've also created the world that it takes place in. So the distributor paradigm, they know that there's always a franchise that contains the story that you brought them. So even if your intentions as a creator are only to tell that specific story, the deal that they're going to sign you in, for the most part, is going to be related to all the potential output from the world that you've created, whether you know you've created that world or not. And it's a raw deal for creators. I know in the USA, a lot of intellectual property, really popular intellectual properties, end up in the hands of people that don't know what they're doing. And it's maddening. And I would hate to see that happen to anybody's enterprise, especially because in this day and age, you don't know what's going to be popular.
Yes.
Anything could be popular. So you could everybody should treat this stuff like it's the next big thing, because it very well could be. You never know. And so to sum up your question, Saramya, when I create my show Press Pass, I have created a series. I have created a world of assets, really. It's not a show anymore. It's now an intellectual property franchise that is a narrow enough purview for it to be mine, that I can claim it. So my franchise is a mockumentary style exploration of sports media personalities that cover the highest level of professional sport, no matter where they are in the world. It's a very narrow presentation, but it's still very expanded, because now I can go do a spin-off in Indonesia about a press circuit in Jakarta that's covering cricket. I don't know anything about cricket, but that'd be a fun spin-off. And maybe it wouldn't be me, but maybe I could pair up with a filmmaker in Indonesia to allow that to happen. And now we're talking about a global cross network support within an IP where honestly it really didn't exist before. You know, like I'm just saying, like, wouldn't it be great if Marvel was like, hey Sonia, like why don't you do this series for us?
Yes.
And we'll help you with the quality control aspect, but the story is yours. Wouldn't that be great?
Wow. Yeah,
And
absolutely.
that's what I envisioned LMO becoming as a platform. But the creator paradigm is really important as we all move through Web3. So the very first thing, when you write down your story idea, there's a lot of work to do at that point. You write down the story idea. That's a story that exists within a certain time frame. So I call that the distributed asset. That's an asset that you've created that you're looking to distribute to an audience. The
Right.
franchise is not the distributed asset. You're not looking to distribute the franchise to the audience. The franchise contains all of the distributed assets. So the way that we navigate ownership of these things now in Web3 using this blockchain technology is you can go, once you have a narrow enough purview for your franchise asset, you can go write we call it a deed. It's just a document that claims ownership and defines the asset that you own. And then you mint that, which is registered to the blockchain. And now it's so fascinating. You mint that to Ethereum, you have 100,000 people that all agree in the same microsecond that your deed has been filed exactly as you filed it. So in the United States, one of the things with deed law is that we need witnesses. It's built into the technology.
Yeah. You can do nothing about it later.
And you need notarization. So that's built into the technology. It's fascinating. And we haven't had a case yet where a deed on the blockchain has been used, you know, in a proof of origin case against the traditional copyright, but that's going to happen soon. I can't wait. So the original film or television concept itself, for my case, it's season 1 of Press Pass. I have Press Pass as the franchise. We have a main series we're doing, the first 7 seasons. And then the season 1 out of that first 7 seasons is its own asset. It's a distributed asset. It's 24 episodes. We come together and produce it as a team over 9 months, and it's all the distribution deals are formed around that package of the season of an asset. So I'm not distributing episode by episode or doing anything harebrained. It's here's the distribution rights. If you buy the rights, you get the right to distribute all 24 episodes. Now this is awesome. So when you write your deed to your assets, you don't need to have the benchmarks in place that the industry says you need to have. What you do need to have is a well-defined property. So for Press Pass, the franchise, my property is well-defined because nobody has done a mockumentary-style sitcom series exploring sports media personalities that cover sports teams. Just haven't done that. So when you are defining your franchise level, you try to be narrow, but also try to capture everything that you may want to do in the future. But the best way to establish the franchise is just by focusing on your story first. Right. So just keep in mind as you're developing that the franchise exists, but you know, we're storytellers. We have that specific journey that we're focused on. So focus on that. We define it as the journey of primary characters during specific events, if it's a fictional or narrative work. It's also defined as the contributions to the lore that happen in that specific story. And then it's additionally defined as the exact form, format, and style that the asset is produced in for distribution. So that's the distributed asset. And if you have all of those details on a document and you put that document on the blockchain, you'll have proof of origin for that distributed asset. So that means, Saramya, if you came to me with your film, and I'm one of those producers that's completely unoriginal, can't come up with anything myself, and you have all of your details on the blockchain, on your deed, and then I go take your idea and I go shop it around. Well, you can send me a cease and desist and say, hey, no, I have proof of origin. And then if I continue to step on your IP, then you go the full 9 yards, because you have the exact proof of origin on publicly agreed upon down to the millisecond when you file that registration. I've already been at this intersection. So we minted Press Pass back in May of 2021. And we were one of the first shows on the blockchain. So it actually has not gone well because we were too early, so to speak.
Right.
Come October, there was a company called VAT. My token art for the sitcom says in the art, mockumentary style workplace sitcom. And, first NFT powered sitcom or whatever, says it in the art. 6 months later, a company called Vast Media out of the UK released a basketball style sitcom with Snoop Dogg in it. And they claimed to be the first NFT sitcom.
Oh.
Oh, it was so on the nose. It was so on the nose. And so, I haven't filed a single copyright, haven't filed a single trademark. All of it's on chain.
Right.
So I send people don't know this. I'll say that's my granduncle right there. So if you know who that man is, hopefully that helps. He does the voice for a very famous character. So I don't like to tell people that because I'm my own person, and that has literally nothing to do with my career. But when it comes time to to protect our team, because that's what it's really about. When somebody's stepping on your intellectual property, you have a whole team that's supposed to be fed off that thing. So when a company comes along, they step on our team. That's when I bring that up. I'm like, okay, not only do I have the blockchain filings, but you guys don't know,
Who's my uncle?
yeah, I don't know him, so I don't know him. Like, I've never met the man. I know his brother, but I don't know him. So, bless the guy. But it's interesting. We're in the same industry. We're the only him, his brother, and myself are the only 3 people in our entire family that are in the film industry. So, carrying the legacy of his dad. But yeah, so long story short, our filings on chain saved a copycat. They're no longer producing that series. You can't find it anywhere. Snoop pulled out because I sent his reps an email laying everything out. I had a feeling that he had nothing to do with the rip. I think that we were pitching it so widely and loosely in Clubhouse last summer that some producer for that platform was like, oh, well, we can rush that to market before they can get off the ground. And they tried, but May 19th, 2021 is the Press Pass version 1 token. And
so how did you go about proving it, Kimani? So when you heard of this conflict, you knew that you minted it on the blockchain, and so you have the timestamp of it, and so you know that you can prove that it is. But how do the courts know what is minting, and can the courts understand the timestamping? Do they understand NFTs? How do they compare the authenticity between one to another?
That's a great question. I'm not a lawyer, so I want to be clear. I'm not offering legal advice in this matter. I talked to a lawyer who goes by @Fidijal. That's his name on Twitter. He's an expert intellectual property lawyer. You'll see him in spaces around the film atmosphere. So if you get a chance to talk to him about it. There's been differing opinions on this, but he's had the best presentation of the information that I've experienced so far. In that, we have to the copyright and trademark is a very centralized purview. The legal benchmarks required for proof are witness, notary, and timestamp. And blockchain builds in all 3. And that means that if you go right now and you write up a PDF, you convert it to an MP4, and then you mint that to an OpenSea collection, that you're minting for free.
That's it. Yeah.
And the MP4 is great because you have time codes across from pages. Nobody can copy and paste it.
Yeah.
It's still readable. It's still part of the community agreement. So long story short, you're establishing your intellectual property on the blockchain using a document that fits the appropriateness of where your locality. For myself, I'm in California. I'm specifically in an area of California where I don't know if you've heard of the gold rush. A lot of people came here in the late 1880s. And so there's a lot of just real life property disputes that are still happening. And I grew up in an area where my foster dad was kind of in charge of the results of a lot of those disputes. So I grew up exposed to a lot of deed law, but I also grew up in a paradigm of like, as an Indigenous American as well, how do you claim property ownership?
Right.
Who decides it? Who enforces it? I'm Kaw Nation as part of my Indigenous background. I have Kenyan blood and some West African blood as well. So I'm a multi-continental person. But the Kaw Nation is, how do you claim property? How do you claim land? It's weird to think about somebody coming to from a different continent, putting 4 stakes in the ground and saying, this is my land now. And then we all to this day still enforce that.
Right.
It's just, so that's like, when it comes to intellectual property, we're thinking of it in the same way. Blockchain is a digital land, and you're going out and you're putting your 4 stakes down and saying, this is my thing. This is now mine. I'm defining this as mine, and nobody else can have this. And as soon as you do that, it exists forever, which is
Perfect.
amazing.
Which is totally amazing. So, I mean, very simply saying, what Kimani is sharing is this example of his show getting copied. It's not the first time it's happened. It happens million times a day to one person or the other. But what do we do? Depending on who you are. So if you have the power, you have the money, you know the who's who, somebody's the uncle or something like that, then of course you have a little bit of a better situation. But then the legal, the courts, the world over are a pain. They're never meant for a middle class person. Nobody can ever afford it or get out of it. So what actually happens is we dump it. We leave it. Whatever we can't fight, we let it go. And the excuse that we creative people give to that is, it's okay, it's just an idea, I can come up with another idea, right? Fast forward a couple of times like that, a lot of people feel burnt out. They're seen leaving the space. Why? Because then it just starts to feel unfair, that it's not very fair. So what we're talking about, the structure, the deed that we're talking about, is like any other deed, any normal deed that happens. But right now you go to the notary system in your area, and you get it notarized. But then imagine this, that even if you have a deed signed with an X person, but a Y person sitting in some other part of the location violates that, or not knowingly, even, because again, the other fun thing with the ideas and concepts are, they're not too many, and they're not very very different from each other. It's how you execute it, like what we even heard Priyanka say that in the last session. It's the same ideas. We all have a similar life, we come up with the similar situations. The beauty is in how we're executing it. So it's very possible that something that you thought of is actually being executed by somebody in a different place. Now when you get to know, what do you do that? And most often you will not even get to know it. You will only get to know it when somebody big has copied it, like it happened for Kimani. It was just so big that it made the noise, and so he got to know. If I had done it, he wouldn't have even known it. I would have created it, would have run it in my nearby cable channel, would have minted like real fiat money, and he wouldn't have figured that Sonia's done something. And that's what happens, right? Now, of course, what we're talking about is this deed is like he's saying, explain, you explain your deed. You say, okay, this is who it belongs to, these are the people involved, this is my original, this is when it was done, these are the locations covered, these are the footages that I've taken, or this is whatever is your IP, whatever is your intellectual property, in that you write it down, and then you mint it. So mint is basically just registering on the blockchain. There's enough on the YouTube to explain what minting and how to mint and all of that. We don't need to go through that. But then once you've minted it, it becomes a document that you can actually depend on. That's
Yes.
something, that's like dependable versus that paper deed that we have. When most often, so many times I have heard in my life, the people, the script writer, they've gone with the scripts, and the person says, where when was this registered, who registered it? It's not there in our records. Boom, it's not there in your records. Okay, I don't have any parallel records to prove that I ever came and registered it, and there you go. But like I've been saying from the day one, blockchain is like a ledger. It is a ledger. What comes in, what goes out is put in there. Even if you try to change it, which you can't, but even if you try and change it, it's registered. So anybody changes the game, the rules of the game, it's very evident, right? So I guess now here onwards, let's listen to the conversation from, not from how we do it, there's enough of the material. Why we do this is clear, right? We do this to protect our intellectual property. We do it to protect our work, our ideas, our final work. We do that. How we do that is simple. Kimani, the question is, for whom Web3 is not a good space? It can't be for
Oh,
everybody, right?
yeah. For middlemen, the people that have made a careers out of setting up the gates that then they make us go through, this is not for them. In fact, we see them here now. It's really funny because they're some of the first adopters, and they're immediately, what they're doing is they're setting up their gates. These Hollywood companies have come in and they say, hey, apply to our company.
Yeah.
Let us know exactly who you are. There's a company that calls themselves Decentralized, I'm not going to say the full name, but Decentralized. And the very first requirement they have is your ID.
Yes.
Like, you guys don't get it. Like, you're coming in here thinking that these are buzzwords. And that's the traditional legacy system, is that they're going to treat this stuff as buzzwords. Decentralized is not a buzzword. It has a meaning. And if you're going to call yourself, your platform, decentralized, and the very first thing that you're asking people to do when you sign up for the platform is give me your ID, that's not going to fly with it's just not going to fly with the larger Web3 community, and they're going to make fun of it. And so the middlemen are going to suffer tremendously. The IP thieves, gone. They're done. Anybody who's hold on a second. Anybody who's made a career out of thieving other people's content and doing unoriginal work, they will not thrive here, because not only is your proof of origin on the chain, once you build even a slight amount of community around that intellectual property, that community has a vested interest in protecting that intellectual property. So that's actually one of the things that happened with the Vast thing in October. I personally didn't see it. It was like 5 of our token holders that came out and was like, this is happening. And that's fascinating, right? So the people that won't survive in Web3 are people that never had anything to bring to our industry in the first place, and we're just here to make money. And I can't wait.
Yeah, we can't wait to have an alternative, a more controlled environment. But like this whole web, blockchain, Web3 sounds too technology driven, Kimani. It's like, somebody who's not technically savvy, or can't go at the moment beyond Google and YouTube and stuff. Do you think it's made for people who are less tech savvy?
Yes, but that's kind of our job as the storyteller front for this community.
Yes.
Everybody here in Web3 right now is in the first 0.0001% of early adopters. So even if you're brand new today, you are a pioneer. And I thank you for overcoming whatever it is that you had to overcome to be here, because that means the world to us. This only grows together. The technology, I think the best way to tell the story, in my opinion, is to explore what it means. Because the whole, like, it took me a long time to understand what non-fungible tokens were. It took me a long time to understand this entire ecosystem, because I misunderstood something from the beginning. And I misunderstood what the value of the US dollar was. And not to get too lost in that, but the main issue with the US dollar is they have zero idea how many dollars there are in circulation around the world.
That's the
None.
worst. That's the worst.
This
Yeah.
CIA says 80 trillion. Federal Reserve says 19 trillion. World Economic Forum says 40 trillion. What? They have no idea. So what is the value of that dollar to the next dollar? What's that decided against? It's not against a max supply. So it's like, it's a mythological value, which is why it collapses pretty much every day a little bit. And that, once I understood that, that helped me understand the digital currencies a lot more, because I had to scale it out. I had to lose all of the technology. And I said, okay, Bitcoin isn't a digital currency, it's a farm. And they grow golden strawberries. They grow 21 million golden strawberries, and that's it. So every golden strawberry it's a group of people working on this farm, and anybody can do it. It's decentralized. And you work on a team that digs up a golden strawberry bit by bit. And as soon as you dig up one golden strawberry, the next golden strawberry is a lot harder to dig up for the next group of people. And there's only ever 21 million golden strawberries. But once you dig it up, you can do what they trade it with each other.
Yeah.
And the value of that golden strawberry is decided by the community that's using it, which is why it changes from second to second.
Yes.
It's actually not a good investment because of that. It's something that is more it's a different way to transfer value. That's basically it.
Yeah.
Is what Bitcoin is for. So Ethereum is a different farm. Now we're into potatoes. And instead of 21 million golden strawberries, where once you get the golden strawberry, you can't do much with it. Maybe you can chop it up. Maybe you can do a few tiny things with the little pieces of gold, whatever it is. With potatoes, you can do all sorts of things. I know every single one of our cultures in here has a potato dish.
As a potato, yes.
Right? And they're all wildly different. So
Yeah.
when we're all farming potatoes, and this Ethereum farm is a lot like Bitcoin. Instead of doing 21 million total ever, we're doing 18 million potatoes every year.
Wow.
And same as the golden strawberries, each potato is that much harder to dig up for the team that's working on it. And then if they reach 18 million in a year, you can't dig up another potato. So the value of the potato is decided against the maximum supply and the group of people that are using it. So again, it fluctuates from second to second. But the interesting thing about these potatoes is that just like a real potato, you can chop it up, and then you put a popsicle stick in that potato, and then you put a piece of art on that popsicle stick. When you do that, it forms a permanent asset, and you go take that to the market, to the farmer's market. And now you have a potato with a popsicle stick with your little picture or cartoons. Maybe you have thousands of them, and you're selling them at the farmer's market. And now the farmer's market's responding to your little potatoes. And they're saying, hey, I want $500 for it. I'm going to spend $500,000 on that little potato. And so each piece of potato is now a non-fungible asset. It's different from the next potato because of whatever you've done to it.
It's
And
uniqueness.
It's unique. And the entire community of potato farmers saw that you made that change and agreed that that change has been made exactly how you made it. So and as soon as you put that popsicle stick in the potato, it's permanently that thing, as agreed by everybody. And you don't have to transact it, but it's just, that's the way the potato farm ecosystem works. And it's public. So anybody can come in, even if you don't know potatoes, you're not part of the farmers, you can go look at everything that's happened. And so you can't defraud anybody, and nobody can defraud you.
Yeah, it's secure. It's absolutely secure. There's just no way to defraud in any way.
So just think of these things. Each blockchain is a farm. The max supply, whether it be a yearly thing or a hard cap thing over, like Bitcoin is 21 million total, and then Ethereum and Avalanche are like fixed. They do
it's fixed.
Every year is a replenished supply, but each one's a different farm, and they each farm different things, and the produce that they farm has different things you can do with the produce. So I stuck with Ethereum because it's the potato farm, and you can do a lot with potatoes. Everybody can cook with a potato.
Can do with potatoes, yeah.
So that's why Ethereum's great. I hope that helped my 70-year-old dad understand this stuff. So
Yeah,
that's
a damn
basically
good
the long
analogy. That's a damn good example. So Victor, to answer your question, I think it's a perfect and well-timed question. Again, I think you've always been asking very well-timed questions, Victor, I must say. So Victor's question is, how can I use the dynamics of NFTs, blockchains to get funds for producing my short film? Any specific platforms? And I have a finished script. So before we get into answering this, um, let let's do a real-time check of the NFTs that you're currently sitting on. I know everybody right now here is new to this conversation, but there are two things that we have done with Malhar Film Festival. One, the entry pass is an NFT. It's the same sort of an NFT that everybody's been talking about here. From our first session with Keshav to what Kimani is talking about, NFT is an NFT. There are no two different ways of NFT. Yeah, that's our NFT, right? So the NFT that you have, you already have one, right? What you had to do to get to NFT, you're already sorted. Your wallets are in place. You already have that part done, right? Now, when Malhar finishes and whoever wins the Malhar Film Festival, their film, part of the film, will be converted to NFT, right? So, Victor, let's talk about what will you do after that, right? Because your film, like right now, you're talking about how would you start it, but I would rather use Kimani's time to say that, okay, hey, Victor has already made a film, and if that film wins at Malhar, that film is going to be an NFT, right? Now, how will funds get generated out of that? Let's not get into making another film. It's already that 2 steps done. Film done, NFT will be done, whoever wins, right? Kimani, please help us understand, how does one make money out of this?
Let's do this. I have a calculator ready to go for this exact presentation, so I'm excited.
Yeah.
Okay, so Victor, I'm going to ask you for a few details here. I have a standard markup for distribution for all of our properties. Let's scale it out a little bit. We want to protect our IP. We've done that. We've minted our deeds to each distributed asset to the blockchain and each franchise we've created to the blockchain. So a franchise can contain an infinite amount of distributed assets, and every show that you make, every film you make, every stage presentation, every installation, every sculpture, every character, these are all separate assets within the franchise. So as you're building this thing, just keep in mind, try to establish as many things separately as you can, especially if they have independent value to the community. I'm only minting deeds to the character if the character has an independent value to the community and is going to be monetized in that way. Yes, please.
Okay. So just to put the perspective in, have we seen or heard this before? In the traditional sense. Have we
When it
seen
comes
or
to
heard?
distribution, no. We're talking
Not-
about
not-
open market distribution.
Yes. I mean, like in a film, we're forgetting blockchain, but in a traditional sense, where the normal world where we all have been making something or the other, have you heard that your character, your sound, your visuals, your everything, like literally a poster, everything has a value? No, I have not. The music, yes, of course, the music has some value separately, right? Few things have, right? But even those few things which have a value, then you have a gatekeeper. You need to, you have a censor board which will pass it. Doesn't pass it, thank you, go back home. A music label, who owns that? Many gatekeepers, right? So first, I just wanted to just focus everybody, saying that what Kimani said was that this particular thing is about the character, but in a film, everything you can take it out and make it into an asset. That's what blockchain talks to you about, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Sorry, my girlfriend was leaving, so I had to go say bye to her real quick. And this is exciting. Everything that has value within your intellectual property should be transacted on through NFT. because the NFT is on blockchain. It keeps a transparent record for you, your community that's backing your property, and for the consumer that is you're transacting with. So it's nobody, there's nothing in the shadows there. So distribution should also be kept in the same relationship. The Elmo structure for tokenomics does tackles the 5 issues. The fractionalized ownerships, you can share IP with a community. Equity-backed membership, so you can actually provide ownership to that IP with a community in a really well-defined way that prevents you from breaking the law. You can do community financing through NFTs. So if you're in a position like I am for Press Pass, where we were needing to raise money to complete the production of the asset, this is a great strategy for that. And then you can also do monetization through NFT gated distribution agreements, which is where our intersection between LMO and Mahar Film Festival is like right on the nose. It's so perfect. So every one of us has we have a film. So Victor, your film has a production budget. Don't know how much that is. If you could give us a ballpark number in the chat, that would be helpful, because I'm going to put it into the calculator.
Victor, what's the production budget of your current film?
Yeah, you don't have to be, you can round up. You can be more ambitious than you're at. It'll help us price the distribution.
Just a random figure, just some figure.
All right, I'll do.
Budget.
Let's do 1.5 million here, okay?
Sure.
And 1.5 is 300,000 pieces. So I'll explain this. I'm on this calculator that I made that breaks down the Elmo structure and how it works. When you go create your distributed asset deed, and this applies to where we're at right now with Victor. So if you have an asset that's ready to produce, or if you have an asset that's already produced and you own 100% of it, you're able to go form a deed to that asset and fractionalize your ownership. Super easy. I own 100% of this. My 100% ownership is now represented and defined by 500 parts of such and such percentage each. In this case, it would be I own 100% of Victor's film, or Victor owns 100% of his film. And now his 100% ownership is represented by 300,000 parts of 0.003% each. So now, Victor, in your deed to the film, you're going to go assign ownership percentages to each part of ownership that you've created within your fractionalization. How you register that is using this non-fungible token technology. So we do 3 different artistically unique collectibles. In that pool of 300,000 parts, there's 3 different artistically unique collectibles. There's 30,000 audience available collectibles. So 27,000 of your pieces, Victor, are going to be a trailer, some sort of proof of concept for the film, something you can shoot right now where you're at. And it'll be 30 seconds to maybe 2 minutes long, but that's going to be a piece of art, and you're going to release 27,000 of those to the community. They will sell for about $43 US. You'll release 3,000 collectibles to the community that will sell for about $114 US. And that's going to be a more exclusive piece with probably a little bit more exclusive utility. Maybe that holder can be on set for something, participate in marketing in some deep way. I don't know. That's up for you. That's for you to decide. But between these 2 pieces here, the 27,000 version 1 collectible and the 3,000 of the version 2 collectible, you've just produced your $1.5 million budget. That's selling 10% ownership of your distributed asset to the audience. And your franchise is yours 100%. Now, in this model, the distributed asset now is fractionalized and distributed. So you, as the IP creator, keep 35%. Your production partner, in this, if you're working with Let Me Out Productions and we're the only partner, then we'd be at 35%. Your cast, crew, writers, and staff, the whole team of production, is receiving 20% in total. And that's determined by the department that they work in and the amount of half days they work on the project, so 6-hour blocks. And so for us at Press Pass, we have a very simple org chart for season 1. So we're doing 6% to cast, 8% to writers and directors, and 6% to crew. So our lighting technician, full-time lighting tech, is going to see 140 shooting days. They'll have their half days counted up against everybody else in that crew pool, and whatever percentage that they have against the total weight is the amount of tokens they'll receive out of that pool at Project Wrap. So that's pretty cool. The lighting tech is going to, you know. So Victor, we got $1.5 million budget here. I'm going to go ahead and say there's 110 people on your org chart. Okay. So that means your average of 300,000 pieces of ownership in your film. The average distribution per person for your film is going to be about 2,700 tokens. That's pretty cool. That's ownership. They own that reflects their ownership in the property. Now this is of
equal distribution. This is all equal distribution.
So I did weigh it on merit because they do have to spend. It's all based on time on the work in the micro pool. So it's appropriate to separate cast out from everybody else. It's a separate form of work.
Sure.
And your lead performers in this model, the lead performers are going to be there almost every day. And then an extra or a stunt person is filling, and they're not going to be as heavy on the schedule. I'm a humanist, so my thing is after the topside negotiations have gone through, that's where liability and expertise are addressed. Everything in this consideration is just time, and our time is equal. So if I'm in crew and the PA's in crew and I'm line producer, and we both do 6 hours that day, then we're receiving the same equity consideration that day. The liability and expertise has already been addressed. I'm getting paid more than them. My day rate's higher.
Yeah.
By the way, the system is not in lieu of paying the team. That's why we raised the budget. So, in fact, this system allows you to pay your team really well. So no more designing budgets around trying to get the PAs as low as possible. Get them as high as possible. Get everybody as high as possible within the comfort level of what the quality is for that asset. Hey, if you're out there trying to make something like Marvel, go for it. Just know that they pay their people well, so they're showing up happy and on time, because that's what you need for those sorts of things. So Victor, that's the long and the short of it. You raise your budget off this, and then the distribution here. This is really where it comes down to it. The hard math for the distribution markup in this structure is 125% the cost of production. So we're talking about 1.5 million production cost. So your total distribution markup, the exclusive cost of distribution for this asset will be 1.875 million. Now this is really cool, and this is where it gets really compatible with the Mahar Film Festival. Within the Elmo structure, to create your distribution rights, you form 100 tokens. Each token carries the exact same distribution rights agreement that you would like your distributors to adhere to. They have your splits. Here, I'll show you. I actually have a great model down here in the paper for how you can design a distribution.
Can you zoom it, Kimani?
Yeah.
The page?
That's probably too big, huh?
No, it shows very, very small on share screen.
Okay. Oops. So we offer a universal no negotiation contract to distributors. Each distribution agreement is arranged across from the work that is being distributed. So this is the one that we're using for Press Pass Season 1. So keep in mind, we meant 100 tokens to represent this agreement, and we released 16 of them to the market. The theory behind that is that your property could be on a maximum of 16 distributors across the globe and not be oversaturated. But what? 17, 18, 20, you're getting close to oversaturation. So 16 is a nice healthy marker for the maximum amount of streamers and platforms you'd be on across the ecosystem. Now, more than likely, most properties would not be distributed across that many gates, because a larger distributor is going to try to collect as many of those gates as possible to remove the access from other distributors.
And which are these platforms, Kimani? Which are these 16 kind of distributed platforms?
Well, let's take a look at the numbers for Victor's film for this 1.5 million. All right, so these 16 tokens that are released on a bonding curve. This is an accessibility bonding curve. You have the first 8 tokens released total in total represent 1/4 this cost of distribution number. So 8 pieces total for 468,750. So that means that any distributor could pick up the rights to distribute Victor's film for $60,000 right there. So that means that a smaller distributor that has attended Mahal Film Festival and sees one of these distribution rights NFTs after seeing Victor's film, and that is now available, they can go pick up the distribution rights NFT right then and there, the agreement right on site, right after experiencing the film. So they're in the moment, they're in the emotions of the film. They'll pick up the distro right then and there. Now that transaction is not reversible. They can't return those rights. That's 60 grand, and once it's delivered, it's delivered. And then that's why in the agreement we have a really important clause I like to share with people. Required audience availability. The distributor must make the intellectual property they purchase rights to available to their audience at all times with respect to local rating boards and governance. If they would like to move on from the intellectual property, they may sell their distribution rights token on the NFT marketplace. So what Netflix does, which is get IPs and then go shove them in the back of their archives, that can't happen to us. It literally can't happen to us, otherwise we'll sue them. So that's and if they know this ahead of time. So they know this. They could read this agreement. They're reading it at the festival. They're saying, okay, you know what? We're okay with all of this. We can abide by all of this. And it's only 60 grand to take a flyer on this guy's film. We're going to do it. Right. But now all of a sudden you've not just opened it up to the larger distributors that will take a 60 grand flyer on your film because that's not a risk to them. But you've also opened it up to the Twitch streamers and the YouTubers that have the million member audiences.
Yeah.
And that's where I think this industry is actually going, is to influencer distribution, because I've studied this for about 1.5 years now. When these guys go on their streams, like Twitch stream, and they're broadcasting to an audience, sometimes it's video games, and I get the appeal of that to some degree. But a lot of the times they're just sitting there Googling things and doing nothing. And their audience watches them do this stuff for hours, 4, 5, 6 hours.
Oh yeah.
So I'm saying, like, if you can get your distribution rights in the hands of one of those guys, they have an online native audience that is already attached to whatever they're doing, no matter what it is. And that audience is heavy on engagement.
Yeah.
So now you have 16 distribution gates available. We have they're about 60 grand each for your film, Victor. So if you get 3 of these 8 tokens in 3 different Twitch streamers, and then you limit the content delivery. So you syndicate the content. You say, okay, if you have a distribution rights token, you will be able to access this content stream for 3 hours on a Friday.
Right.
So now you have 3 major Twitch streamers, or even mid-tier Twitch streamers, that are all limited to the same content access on the same window.
Yeah.
With 3 online native audiences that are heavy on engagement. No matter what film you've put out in that ecosystem, it's going to trend. It's going to catch eyes. It's going to be part of the discussion. So influencer distribution is in my mind the future, because not only can we enjoy those metrics in real time, we all know exactly how the performance happened in real time. We can also rest comfortably knowing that even if we retain 15 to 20% of these people's audience, we're still doing way better numbers than most major distributors can promise you in the first month of delivery. So
it's a shared economy in one way, you know, like everybody's got vested interest, and anyways everybody's got vested interest, but here the vested interests are trackable, vested interests are upfront, transparent, and it's very obvious that, okay, one is there to make revenue, to generate revenue, because like Victor needs money to produce a film. So it's a clear intent. It's not for the love of the art only. Of course, you need money to make art. So it's very, very out there. Your NFT has a value. That value is established by how you position it. In that, I will also like to add, on blockchain, the way you position yourself is different. It's not the same as what we do on an Instagram or a Facebook, which is like brand positioning. But on blockchain, it's all about the community. The community is like real people, and the real people, you make a pitch to them, like here, pitch your project. So you state everything about your project transparently, and it like that's the another thing that we are practicing with all of you all is Discord. So the blockchain community largely works on Twitter and Discord. So you bring people to your Discord, to your Twitter, have a conversation with them, tell them what you're doing. And if, of course, if you're genuine, it will resonate to people who are making that. Now these people become your investors in one way or the other. This is the people. So Victor, what you were talking about, how do we produce firms? Like, once people believe in your project, believe in what you're trying to do, the story that you want to tell, once you release the tokens of for your firm, they are the people who are going to buy those tokens. So when they buy the tokens, that's where the money is coming in, right? And people are invested in your firm, not like they give you the money and then they want it to scale high, but they've actually put the money up front, believing on the concept. So they're connected to us at a human level, at a story level, at a pitch level, right? And that's what the community brings out. Of course, then that's where the LMO structure comes in, that of course when you have a community, you got to give it back to them, right? Now, the first and foremost for us as filmmakers, what we are very lucky with is that the community exists within our own teams. Our
Mm.
own gaffer, our own lightman, our own cinematographer, our makeup artist, our stylist, everybody is a community. They believe in the story, the story doing well matters to them way more than somebody new, somebody straight to the stranger, right? And if they have a vested interest, if tomorrow they see that if the firm does well, there is something that they can generate out of it, they're going to be better partners than just somebody who will come in for the money, isn't it? We all will do that. If somebody from our crew tells us that you are invested in this, and if the film does well, you're gonna make money, of course we're gonna listen to it, right? But the fact that they end up buying your tokens is where your investment starts to raise. So Victor, I hope that answers your question, but even if it doesn't, please process it. The recordings of these conversations are going to be there. It might take a few times to listen to it, and we're not going anywhere. The Discord group is not going anywhere. Ask us whatever your questions is, and we'll try the best in our space to answer that. All right, Kimani, I'm going to put you on a spot now.
Yeah.
I have a question.
Yes or
Yeah, so like when I fractionalize and say my story has this particular character A, and that character A is being like sold as a token. Why would someone buy the token and like buy the character, and why what would be like what would be the benefits for that person, for that buyer?
That's up to you as the creator. That's the thing, right? So just, I want to be cautious in saying that when your token relationship that you're offering to a consumer, just make sure that any future flow of wealth that is provided to that holder is directly across from their contribution or collaboration. That fits the governance that we have to abide by in the United States when it comes to forming securities. So if you're going to like, the way that you would form that relationship from the top down perspective is, in your franchise, you would state that my characters are assets that are going to be transacted, and here's the rights and interactions that the consumers have with these transactable characters. And you state that on the asset side of things. And then you go form those character transactions, and the community agreement's already formed. And so any at the time of shilling or shopping that project to consumers, you do have to tell them, hey, there's a community agreement here at the franchise level determining exactly how you're going to interact with these characters. I am selling these characters to you, but there are terms and conditions that apply. Please go read them in the community agreement. They're also enforced by the community. So it's a built-in self-sustaining system to where people that invest into the collaboration will end up protecting what they've put their money into, because think about it from a consumer perspective real quick, right? Let's say, I'm going to go back to that Abacus real quick. Let's do something crazy. Let's do a $35 million Game of Thrones season. Okay, so that's, we got 6 million pieces. Is that right? No, it's 600. Even that's not too bad. All right, so 6 million pieces we're doing a $35 million season of television. Ooh. All right, so now we have to, if we're going to raise that from a community perspective, we need to find 540,000 people that are willing to spend $50 on it. Now, if it's Game of Thrones, that's done. That's not a conversation, right? 540,000 people for 50, and then you can find 60,000 people that are willing to jump in at a higher commitment. Or you can gamify this thing and build in entry points for traditional finance. And this is where the structure ends up being extremely efficient, because anybody can now buy a piece of the work, anybody, as long as they're willing to put $50 toward it. They need to know ahead of time, this might fail. This is showbiz. This might never, ever be successful. So what you're doing is you're putting money into a collaborative community, and we're going to provide you a collaborative experience. Regardless of how it turns out, we're going to provide you a collaborative experience. If you provide that collaborative experience, you're not defrauding the consumer. So just make sure benchmarks are built into your project to where, like on Press Pass Season 1, we have our pre-pro unit at $180,000. We have our writer's room financed at $1.1 million. So once the writer's room's financed, all 24 scripts are ready. So the deliverable in terms of scripts has been achieved. So the maximum ambitions of the show is 26 million. That's a lot to put on the community for sure. But these pieces here, where did I go with that? $15 pieces for our version 1 collectible. There's 530,000 of them. The version 2 collectible, I think, is like $40. It's all in Ethereum, so it fluctuates. So if we're able to trigger the right day for this project, and it's coming soon, and all these pieces move within a day or within a week or within a month, our entire production budget is covered for season 1. And I have not sold the franchise to anybody. I've sold 10% to the audience. Now, what I'm looking for right now, because it's really hard to talk to general consumer into this model, is for an executive producer or a co-producer to jump in at a higher point, which is exactly what this model allows me to do, because I can say that at a certain level of commitment, I'll share with you guys a fun document to look at. At a certain level of commitment, you become a co-producer. So you have access to collaborate and participate in this work as a credited co-producer. And if you're credited on the work and collaborating within those predefined participation benchmarks, then we can pay you. We can pay you according to the exact equity that you've collected, if that's what we want to do, because we can pay collaborators however we want. With obviously pay, don't violate, you don't go the other way with that. Pay your people well.
Yeah.
So here, a co-producer would jump in at Press Pass at 10,000 tokens. They're putting in 0.0091 ETH per edition. And so it's 91 Ethereum, and they're receiving an equity assignment from across from that token pool of that percentage number. I'll blow this up a little bit. I'm not going to read that out loud. So we have the US dollar entry points that vary on the price of Ethereum here. And you can see the executive producer entry point is 53,091. So there's still entry points for traditional finance, but instead of saying to a financier, you're going to buy 100% of the franchise or 75 years of option on the franchise, you're going to buy 1% of the film or 1% of the show. And the reason that they will do that is because they're going to receive, if they participate as a co-producer, as an executive producer, they will receive a quarterly net profit share reflecting their contribution. And this is perpetual. This never expires. So somebody jumping in at 1% of Press Pass, this is off our most conservative estimate, would take about 11 quarters until full ROI. And our, which is awesome. That's for any entry level co-producer or executive producer.
Just helps to get as many people on board. Like it really breaks it down. So, makes it very simple for people who are non-believers or doubtful or don't have the kind of funds accessible. They can also get in. Depends on how many fractions, how many parts you want to do of that. And then each person comes in with their comfort, right? I mean, that's very similar to, let's say, a Web2 model or a traditional model where we say, okay, you give whatever you can and you give whatever you can. But then none of that is transparent. and none of that is something that that is that's a part of the structure. So it's all random. What you give me and what I give in return is all random, and that's where there's so much grayness that it doesn't lead, or it doesn't become a continuous proposition. But here what's happening is it's all transparent. Like at the very beginning, how many tokens you're releasing, and how many, if you were to do these many parts of it, then what value does it come to, and then break it down with each person knows that if they were to contribute in that kind of a capacity, then this is what they get. So it's a like I mean, it's taken Kimani some time to put this Excel sheet together, but it's something that everybody should try and do their own calculations to start trusting that method. Okay, if this pure mathematics. Yeah.
I would say that I have one point of caution on the scales of this.
Mm-hmm.
There's consumer scales, there's market scales, there's sustainable scales. And
Mhm.
so I will ask anybody using the structure to stick within this scale of parts of ownership,
Right.
meaning that
Yeah.
if you have even a smaller budget work, it should have at least 100,000 parts of ownership if you're going to use the Elmo structure, just because the consumer needs to have the same feel of interaction from property to property. So
Gotcha.
we can't have somebody built on 500 tokens. It doesn't make any sense.
Hmm.
So I did the scale in here where between $1 and 750,000, you'll need 100,000 tokens. Then your maximum budget films, the 300 million, 200 million, which is what they spent 200 million on Doctor Strange, the one that just came out. So
Yeah.
like that's about the maximum going rate for the heavy CGI pieces today. And that would be a $10 million or 10 million token pool. So we don't want to go below 100,000.
Yeah.
And we don't want to go above 10 million, just to keep the same scarcity feel from property to property, which means that there would be 1 million tokens available for every major blockbuster and at least 10,000 tokens available for every single film and show built on this structure. So the strength of community would feel similar across small properties, and it would feel similar to participate in no matter if they're participating in a US based project or an India based project or a Brazil based project. It should feel
The same.
the same. Yeah. And that's the other thing that's really great about this is any of us can go form NFTs right now. You don't need to go sign up for
Yeah.
anything. You don't need to pay any money to anybody.
Super simple.
Super easy. OpenSea is a great resource for this. I do want to get to the point of, I think I skipped something pretty major here. So I'm sorry about that, y'all. We, in the deed, when you fractionalize your ownership, so here I'm in my deed of assignment for season 1 of Press Pass. I've fractionalized my sole and exclusive property ownership of season 1 into, let me blow this up for you guys. 5,309,160 equal shares of owners, certified ownership. So we got a little bit gimmicky with that pool number, but it does fit within the scales here. And the reason that we did that is because first project on this, we have very specific area codes, our telephone code numbers out here in Sacramento, and then those telephone code numbers make up that pool size. So it just fit in. Yeah, we needed 5 million tokens at least anyway. So I'm like, okay, let's have fun with the numbers and make it a little bit more historically significant for the local people here down the line. So you could do that with your token pools too. You don't have to stick to 100,000 on the nose. If you want to be like, oh, I'm going to do 177,777, go for it. It doesn't matter to me.
And anything above the minimum and anything under the maximum is a recommendation, having tried and tested various permutation combination.
It's feel for the consumer, but also accessibility, because the whole point of this is to de-risk these assets by saying to the community, hey, we're not going to sell this thing for 20 million to a studio and then lose the franchise outright. We're going to sell it to you for $50. And for every $50 you put into this, you get a slightly more, you get an increase of equity. And then at a certain point, you've increased your equity so much, you've unlocked expanded rights and access.
Yeah.
That's up to you as a creator to determine and decide for each property that you create. I know this is a brand new paradigm, so we do offer guidance and resources at Let Me Out Productions for our company ownership token holders. I did the same thing at the platform level, fractionalize my ownership, assign 16% of the ownership to 80,000 tokens that are slowly being released, where we will have 200 available from the platform at any given time. So there's 200 available right now. I won't go into show mode just yet, but
Sure. I mean,
the
that's the amount, that's the kind of services that are available and absolutely open and accessible. We must do our own reading and understanding to build the faith, to know what exists. And then that, when we are well researched, that's when we end up appreciating when we get something really nice and genuine. So we should absolutely do that. Kimani has been very generous to put up all his documents right up front. It's all in the chat. I hope all of you have, clicked on
only get it if you like the art and if you like what we I'll talk about the relationship that we offer right before I hop off the call. But there's one point that's super important that I somehow forgot to mention. In your deed is not just your fractionalization document, it's also your community agreement. So that's what in your deed, that's what you're saying. Community members that grab this token will have this set of rights apply to them.
Right.
And this is completely decentralized because these are not partners where you're naming them by name. You are assigning rights to a token ID, and those rights are already applied to the token ID. It's just you don't have any collectors to engage in those rights. So
you can't go back on it. You can't just underestimate your community. You can't override them. You can't do anything different from what you promised initially.
You can update the rights too. That's the other great. A deed is great. You can update the deed. You can work with your token holders if this is, hey, we want to do this, and this isn't a right that's included, but do you mind if we do this? And you're like, yeah, why not? Let's do it. And then you say you go add that right in and file an update. If you're soft minted the deed, you can just update the token. I think in the future we should all be hard minting every deed.
Yeah.
And just keeping a change log against the token IDs. But I have on screen here the language that I've used to assign ownership to the specific token identification number of these memes. Oops, where are they? This meme here, this is a 30-second meme about a character in the show. And there's 530,000 editions of this meme. There's a 30-second video clip, but each edition of this meme carries 0.000018%, a little bit over that, ownership to season 1. So somebody who collects one meme, $15, great, right? They sit on it, they wait for the pilot to come out, and then the pilot comes out, everybody's talking about it online. They go flip that token for whoever, what, I don't know. That's the flipper interest.
Yeah.
The community interest is I'm going to grab this meme because it gives me the right to make my own memes from this show, and I can sell those memes as NFTs. So I'm betting that I can make more than $15 off the memes that I can create in the show. For now, we've limited it to one meme per edition, but we may expand that in the future. We don't know. But that's one of the great things about having a community agreement on chain is that you can update the agreement to reflect what the community wants. As long as the relationship that they're engaging with ahead of time is predefined, which this one is, it's actually here you go to the intellectual property tokens for season 1 of Press Pass. We have 3 versions. We have the version 1 collectible, 530,000, about $15 each. We have the version 2 collectible. These are both, there's a GIF that wraps, there's art that wraps the token, then you click on the token, there's a clip in the token itself. And these 2 are the 10% that make up 10% of season 1 of Press Pass. So if these 2 sell out, hey, I'll take 1% of them. So I'll take 0.5% selling out. We're off to the races is the thing. The way the project's built and the way everybody's project's built is that this is scaled to produce, well, it depends on how Ethereum's doing, but anywhere from like $6 to $27 million. And so our first phase is 180,000. So if we find a co-producer that buys 91 Ethereum and puts 91 Ethereum into our project, we're launched the next day. What? That's crazy. You know how many different co-producers are out there that are willing to spend 91 Ethereum into a project? I mean, there's a lot of just a non-degens that would do that. So we have to find the right combination of people that know this industry and people are willing to pioneer the model.
That's all about the community. That's right people make the right community. If they're the right people, they come and invest, they become your token holders, they stay with you, they're invested in the interest and the growth of the project. So it just keeps boiling down to community, 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 and a genuine project. Have a genuine project, have a genuine story, have built in the right community, include everybody. It's like, I mean, this is clearly the time when you don't think about just yourself, but like literally from the start, build in that what is this person going to get, what is this person going to get, what is this person going to get, and there you have, boom, you have the entire community set in and there. So Kimani, you have obviously given like a whole lot of information that people need to process, that people need
Yeah.
to understand and come back with questions if because one way there is only so much that anybody can explain, right? So what we have to do is read these documents, understand it, do counter introspection, and then come back, right? I have
Yeah.
one last question for you before we say, I know, very sorry, we've gone really
Oh,
over
it's all
time.
good. I love this.
Sorry, great. Now, so the question for you is that I know you love creators and you're all for the creator economy, you love the filmmakers. What is it that you hate about the filmmakers?
Oh, well, that's pretty much limited to Hollywood. You guys probably have a lot of the same frustrations I have. I greatly dislike when cultures are represented by people that have not lived those experiences. I think that needs to change wholeheartedly. I'm an Afro-Indigenous person, but because I grew up in foster care, I have no idea what it's like to be a part of an Indigenous household or Indigenous culture past what I've experienced, in my biological family since the day I turned 19. So I'm not, I can't represent, even though it's my blood, I should not be representing that on screen or speaking for my cousins. So I know that, but Hollywood doesn't have that same sort of sacred relationship with culture. They love it. They love it. They had a British woman playing Harriet Tubman, and that's like, I won't watch that film because it's like, it's the same reason I won't watch when Morgan Freeman plays Nelson Mandela. What are we doing? What is that? That doesn't make any sense to anybody. Like, you can't find a single South African person, hell, within the same culture of the man to play him. You gotta go, same with the Will Smith playing Nigerian. So I would like to see that change on screen and then also behind the scenes, because the directorial voices for these projects also need to represent the cultures that Marvel's getting really good at that, by the way. They're phenomenal with that now. With the Moon Knight and then Miss Marvel that just came out, really well done in terms of getting the agency in the right place. So I'd like to see that change. I think now that the negotiation points have changed, they just have. I just don't see the industry being able to fight this. I think they'd have to literally legislate. They'd have to get the government bodies to legislate against this stuff, and that won't work. It just won't work. So fast forward.
Got you, and totally well said. Very, very aptly said. It is a misrepresentation in the name of entertainment, in the name of it's okay, it's a story. That's a bit too much. All right.
And I have one last ask for you all.
Yeah.
So one day you're going to be doing what I'm doing. You're going to be sitting in front of a room talking to people about your projects and asking them to absorb your information about your project. And the only way these projects will succeed is if the community collects tokens in the project.
Yes.
So I know I'm the pioneer of the model and I'm describing the model, but I'm also actively demonstrating the model with active token offerings. Yeah. And there's been a very consistent theme over the past 16 months. I've been doing rooms like this, and you can go look at the blockchain. You can go look at the sales.
Yeah.
There's not been a lot of response to the thing. And I'm not entitled by any means. I think everything's organic and things happen for a reason. Yeah. So if you're comfortable, if you like the art as creators, I invite each and every one of you to go take a look at our company ownership token collection. If you grab one of those, we will personally walk you through the Elmo structure for tokenomics and design it for your asset. And and that's a service. So we don't take any points. There's no expectation of a relationship past that development. If you would like to pitch that work to us, then that's a whole different process I won't get into. So the best option for supporting Let Me Out Productions is by a company ownership token. And grab more than one, because we have a DAO. If you grab one, it puts you at tier 9 in the DAO. If you grab 7, it puts you at tier 8.
Wow.
So that's the best for filmmakers. That's the best entry point to what I'm doing. And then if you're out there as a collector, we also have the show. And if you want to make memes and press pass, grab a couple tokens in the show. And I think just, yeah, you guys have seen the model. I think even though it's taken a minute to establish it, I do think this is going to be, if not the main infrastructure, just a staple of it. And we've seen what early adopters have benefited from in NFTs before, by putting 10, 15 bucks into something, and then a year down the line, 16 months down the line. So I won't say that that's what's happening with us, because we're already 16 months down the line. But what I'm saying is, being in that pioneer position, the major issue has been visibility, and has been that we're bringing in a new use case, a very complicated, in-depth use case, and presenting it against people selling cartoons. So that's been—
Go for it. Go for it. Go
Yeah.
check it out for yourself. And probably this could be the start of the understanding of blockchain, understanding of Web3, understanding a protocol that's built for our community, for people like us. So go ahead, and that's the link that Kimani has put in on the OpenSea. Save it. There are only 11 left at 0.007 ETH. That's hardly anything, but do your maths, understand what you're investing into, and get back. And Kimani is there on Twitter all the time. So anything that you need to ask or clarify with him, do that. Thank you, Kimani. Thank you. I really, really have to thank you for putting together these amazing amount of documents. Look at the amount of work that you've done, and you've put it all clean out for everybody. So thank you for sharing it all with the Malhar community. I hope all of us have taken, so Ramya, have you taken down all these links? Yeah. And everybody there. Perfect. And share it with your friends as well. Discuss, talk to more people. That's when the doubts get clear. We will tell you whatever we'll tell you, but you go and do your F check. Perfect. All right.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Kimani. Thank you so much for so much of your time once again. And I'm sure the Malhar community will reach out to you directly through us, whatever works.
Oh, thank you guys so much. Your time means the world to me. I have one message as a storyteller. It's something you already know about yourself, but I'm just affirming it. I'm just another voice affirming it. You fundamentally deserve to exist. You exist, therefore you deserve to exist. It applies to all souls, whether they're here with us now or whether they've moved on. Energy is a constant. You exist, you deserve to exist. Any feeling that you have today that disrupts your feeling of deserving to exist, we acknowledge it as real. Thank you, body. Thank you, brain. I know that's real, that's there, but I'm going to choose to deserve to exist and not let that other thing govern my behavior. So with that in mind, y'all, on the deed of partnership, I also— I just spilled all my coffee. I just linked the deed of partnership in there that has all the properties that are assigned to the token IDs for the company ownership collection. So now I have to clean up this coffee. So appreciate y'all.
You have the next job to do. Thank you, everybody.
Yeah.
Thank
All
you.
right,
Thank you. Bye-bye. Take care. Sleep well, rest well. And for everybody on Malhar, see you tomorrow for a whole lot of— tomorrow is going to be a more packed—
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Well, you're most welcome. I hope you're checking the schedule on the website. It's on the schedule and talk, right? It's up for all the days. If you're making any changes, we'll let you know, but mostly it's all sorted. So plan your time and be there, and get your cast and crew. I really, really recommend get your cast and crew, the people that you work with, in these sessions, because from what you hear to what you will go and convert, there's going to be Chinese whispers. Always happens. We miss a few details. So the people that matter to you in your creative process, They should always be learning things together with you, right? So there's still, we have a week left for Malhar, and every day is packed. Now I think most of the days we have like three sessions. So please make maximum value out of it. I'll only be sharing the recordings if I see participation. Honestly, I'm very serious about it. Like, I mean, we should not take something so granted that, okay, we're not going to be there when it's happening and we'll hear the recording. Not fair, right? So don't depend on that as an aspect, but come, join in, participate. This is the time when you can ask the speakers whatever you need to, and us, right? And let's do this collectively. We have thought of a certain format, but you may want something else. You may have some other questions. The only time we can do that is now. Yeah. So great. So we will say bye bye, and we will meet tomorrow again for yet another fresh session. Keep watching other people's films, keep promoting your film. I hope you all are going out of your way and promoting your film. Make sure that your films are winning. Yeah. All right. Take care. Good night. Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Bye.